Okay, in this video we'll actually get the player to pick these pickups up. So what we're going to do is basically just work with the player controller script and just add a little bit to it. So there's not actually too much to do. Now, a couple things before we get started with that. Like I was mentioning, these pickups at the moment we're just sort of running into them, and so that's going to be okay. Except we're gonna change that up. We're gonna set it so that it's a trigger, and also that we're gonna make sure that they have a tag. So let's do that first, and then we'll see it in the script, and then we'll explain it a little bit more there. So first thing is, now if we want to make a change, right? Oh, I made all these pickups already. If I go in and I just change one of them. Okay, I'm gonna create this tag. I can actually affect them all by, once I make that change, just hitting apply here. So don't do this, just sort of watch here. I'm going to play around with the scale. So I'm going to make them look a little funny. I'm going to maybe make this 5 here. So this one looks strange, okay, compared to the others. Now, if I wanted to make them all look like that, all I'd have to do is hit apply, and then they all look like that. Okay, not a good idea. But let me just bring that back. Okay, so we're back to where we started from. So you can do that. So again, that's one of the big advantages of a prefab. Another way we could do it is, instead of collecting or selecting one of those objects and then hitting apply, a little bit more direct even, you could go right back to your prefab. So if I click on my prefab and I say, okay, make this 2, then all of them follow suit. Okay, so it's really easy when you've got prefabs, especially if you're going to have multiple instances of them. Now, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to change its tag. And so its tag is a little bit of an identifier. So in this game, you could run into a variety of things. I mean, the ground and the walls or the pickups. And so we have to differentiate between them. You can get more complicated, obviously, as games get more complex. But what we're going to do is create a tag called pickup. So what I'm going to do is go click on this untagged. There's a few tags that are already there, player, game controller, and so on. We don't have a pickup tag, so I'm going to add a tag, and then it says list is empty, so I hit plus, and I can create a new tag. And I'm going to call this pickup, capital P, capital U, and no space. Hit save. Now what I really dislike is that you actually haven't set the pickup tag yet. It's still untagged, okay? You have to go back onto the prefab. It still says untagged. And then now you can see the pickup is there. You need to apply it, okay? And because we did it to the prefab, all of these are now tagged pickup. Perfect. Okay, so let's go actually into our script and make it so that we can pick it up. To our script, to our player controller script, we're going to come down. So under fixed update, which we fixed last time, you'll notice there should be that curly brace that closes that one up, and then that curly brace that closes the whole script up. So what I'm going to do is come in between those two, okay? So the one that closed the fixed update and the one that closes the whole script, and we're going to create another function. This function, start with void, okay? It's called on trigger enter, and make sure you spell it exactly right and capitalize it exactly right. If you don't, it won't work. It's one of those built-in functions that needs to be spelled correctly and capitalized correctly to actually function. What I'm going to put in here is collider, and we're going to call that collider other. It'll make more sense when we get through here. Start that curly brace again because it's a new function. And so what I'm going to say is if the other dot game object dot compare tag, okay, so I'm just using the things to help me out here, is pickup. And make sure you spell pickup just like we spelled it. Okay, capital P, capital U, no space. Then what's going to happen? Let me just close it up properly. There we go. Another curly brace. Well, we're going to set the other dot game object dot set active to false. And I'll explain this in a second once we get this all done. Okay. So be very, very careful there that you got your proper curly braces in. If you need to pause me here, do so you can write it in. if I typed a little fast for you. So make sure at the end here, we basically get 1, 2, 3 curly braces. 1 to close up this if, 1 to close up this function, and 1 to close up the whole script. Now, when explaining this, we'll get to the idea of a trigger in a second here. But when we enter the trigger, okay, whatever we hit is now called the other. So this happens anytime you hit something that's a trigger, and the thing that you've hit is now defined as the other. So if we're just going to see if this is true or not, if that other is a game object, and if we compare the tag, and it is pickup. So basically, if this is true, then what's it going to do? Well, it's going to take that other, which like I said is a game object, and set its active to false. And that's actually just going to turn off its excuse me, it's going to turn it off there. Okay, so we'll see how that works in the script. So make sure you save it, or sorry, see that in the game. So make sure you save that. Go back to Unity, and this here, like I was saying, this is the set active. So I'm just going to pick one. Let's pick this guy here. Okay, so this is pickup number 10. I'm going to watch this here. Now, actually, it's not going to work. So I'll just show you. Oh, it's not working, right? It's not picking it up. So don't worry too much yet, okay? The one thing that I didn't do is that if you look at the, so I'm going to click on the prefab pickup here. So I'm actually going to go into my prefabs, click on the pickup, so it's going to affect all of them. When you look under the box collider, okay, so any collider has this, you can set it to be a trigger. So like it says there, if enabled, this collider is used for triggering events and is ignored by the physics engine. So what's interesting here is that it will actually pass through it, but then the on trigger enter code will sort of run. So we're going to make sure they're all set to is trigger. And like I said, the beauty of a prefab is that if I've done that to the prefabs or the parent there, if I go and look at any of these, they're now all triggers. So I think that was number 10 I'm interested in. So I'm going to click on number 10. And so now if I move my little guy here, whoops, make sure I'm in the game. I think it was the one closest to me. Once I touch it, okay, oh, well, it was the wrong one there, but that was pickup 1. But anyways, it disappeared. And so if I go and look at pickup 1, oops, which one am I getting here? Okay, these ones have disappeared. So you can see the set active is off. I mean, I could put it back by just clicking on it. Okay, but I can just go by if I wanted to do it again. Whoops. Okay, whoops, I gotta click on here. And I should be able to pick them all up. Now, if you're bouncing off them, that means your is trigger isn't set. If you're passing through them and they're not disappearing, it's possible that you spelt it wrong or you didn't tag them. But otherwise, they should all be being able to be picked up. Okay, so now we've got our game, basically. I have one here. So we're going to come back in the next video, and we're going to talk about putting a score to this, so we can actually get a score, and then also a little bit of, hey, you won the game by picking them all up. All right, and that actually should, hopefully we can get that done in that one video, and we'll be done the game.